Hey you all, thank you so much for clicking on this video. Make sure you like, comment, share, and subscribe. Make sure you drop down in the comments. Let's get some dialogue going. Listen, today we're going to talk about the case that is viral right now. Carlishia Hood, who's 35, who sent her 14-year-old son to shoot another man who was basically brutally attacking her. As of today, on June 27th of 2023, those charges have been dropped. Most people have an opposing opinion, but let's get right into it. CBS Chicago reports, Cook County prosecutors have dropped murder charges against a woman and her 14-year-old son. The mother, Carlishia Hood, was also charged with delinquency of a minor. Those cases were also dropped. The prosecutor in this case states, based upon facts, evidence, and the law, we are unable to meet our burden of proof in the prosecution of this case. Per CBS 2 legal analyst Irv Miller, quote, you have the right to use deadly force to stop the force against another person. And that is exactly what happened in this case. That same legal analyst also states that charges should have never been approved in this case to begin with. The first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to insert the clip. If you have not seen it, trigger warning, there's violence in this clip. So if you have a problem looking at violence, I suggest you scroll past it. Here's the clip for everyone.
Nate, get your food. Get your food. If you say one more thing, I'm going to knock you out. Oh my grandma, say one more thing, I'm going to knock you out. Say one more thing, I'm going to knock you out.
So guys, in this clip, it's a very short clip, okay? There's only a few things that we can deduce and we cannot speculate. One thing we cannot speculate is why these two were arguing. We cannot speculate what the argument was about or anything like that, okay? So that we won't do. There's certain things that we can deduce, right? We can deduce that everyone in there is just trying to get food, feed themselves and or their family. And there's altercation between a man and a woman. We can't exactly hear what they're saying. It's a short video clip. Audio is not really that clear aside from the person who is screaming at the time. We do hear Carlishia say, go to the car. Now, I don't know if she was telling that to the man or to her son, but once she said that, the victim, who is 32-year-old Jeremy Brown, tells her, on my grandmother, I'm going to knock you out. Keep talking, and I'm going to knock you out. Carlishia keeps talking, and the man proceeds with all his might in his body to draw back and knock this woman out. Now, there's been speculation of some texts that Carlishia may have sent her son, whatever the case may be. None of that matters, because in this moment, this man is doing what he promised her on his grandmother that he would do, which was knock her out. He begins to pummel Carlishia, as we see in that video. And the peculiar thing that I find, and I'm going to talk about the delinquency of a minor because I actually agree with that charge. However, in that moment, there are other people and, more importantly, other men watching this go down as he begins to pummel her, okay, and begin to knock her out or attempt to knock her out by drawing back as far as he can and hitting her with all force. Not one grown man standing there watching this happen attempts to protect Carlishia. Is it unreasonable, and I'm asking this question, to think that someone would come to your aid in that moment? Another grown man see someone trying to knock you out. Is it unreasonable as a woman? I don't want race to come into this at all. As a woman, to think that, hey, someone would help stop this. In that moment where this man, who's clearly out of control and in his emotion, begins to pummel her, nobody comes to protect Carlishia. Not one person. The only person that she had to come protect her was her 14-year-old. Let that sit for you. Because So many people are saying she shouldn't have told her 14-year-old. And listen, I am with y'all when y'all are right. But also in this moment, the only thing that I'm going to speculate is Carlishia has maybe been in other situations where she needed protecting from people. And there is no one around in her immediate vicinity that would protect her. So as a 35-year-old woman, she's relying on the protection of her 14-year-old son. Let that sink in. I don't know if that's completely true. But in this moment, there is no other man in there willing to help and protect her. Because I guarantee you, had they stepped in, that 14-year-old would not need to draw that gun at all. Do you understand what I'm saying? Had they been like, yo, pulled him back, pulled him off, everybody would have been able to go home. And I'm not blaming anyone else in this situation. I'm just saying that in that moment, there was nobody there to protect Carlishia. And unfortunately, very unfortunate, highly unfortunate, her 14-year-old son had to do just that. Now, there is speculation that we don't see the rest of the video. I'm honestly not interested in watching it. I don't like to see trauma and deaths and stuff like that. I think it desensitizes people. There's speculated to be another part of the video where the man who is pummeling Carlishia, who sadly lost his life, is shot in the back. He begins to retreat and the 14-year-old shoots him again. And people are saying, just based on the fact that he started to retreat, then he should have, it should have been done. They need to be charged with murder. But you never know what that man was willing to go do. If he was willing to sit there and try to knock her out, I don't think that just because he's fleeing, because he's shot, that's enough to say when you're standing your ground, hey, it's done. Because he could have been going to get a gun and kill Carlishia and her son. And we don't know how they felt in that moment. You cannot speculate on how they felt in that moment, especially a 14-year-old boy who just watched his mother be threatened to be knocked out and attempted to be knocked out, pummeled. You can't tell him how he felt in trying to protect his mom. Listen, when we were younger, real quick, someone could make a your mama joke and you was ready to take their head off. You was fighting. So you couldn't handle a joke. Imagine handling a grown man sitting there beating your mother, trying to knock her out. You wouldn't know how you would feel. So that's where people have an opposing opinions. I can't speculate. I haven't saw the video. I can just try to think of as a 14-year-old. When we were 14, a your mama joke went far. Somebody was hitting my mom and they don't tell them what I would do. Even now, that's my mother, right? I want to talk about, but where I want to go is where the delinquency of a minor charge. Now, I did talk about her, other people, maybe she didn't feel protected, but at the end of the day, Carlishia Hood, as a 35-year-old mother of a 14-year-old young man, has a direct duty to protect him. She has a direct duty to make sure that his life is as best as it can be. She has a direct duty to not put him in harm's way, to not instruct him to do anything that's detrimental to his future. And in this case, while yes, she was not being protected, and the only one that there was to protect her was her 14-year-old, he should have never been put in that position. If Carlishia did send him text to get the gun, he should have got the gun and handed it to her so she could protect herself. There is no reason that Carlishia, as a mother, should even feel comfortable with her 14-year-old shooting somebody and possibly committing murder with what is on the other end of that, right? Because what's on the other end of that could possibly be him being murdered, could possibly be him being in jail for the rest of his life. Maybe not the rest of his life because he's 14, but then when he gets out, he has a record of murder. So then that squandered his opportunity, his education, his dating life. So much of his future is down the drain. And in that moment, when Carlishia is instructing her son to do such things, she is irresponsible. I don't agree with it. I think the delinquency of a minor charge needs to stand. I don't even know the years or the punishment behind such things, but I think that Carlishia failed her son in that moment. Because your 14-year-old is a baby. He's 1 year 2 years into his teens. You turn a teen at 13. He's 14. He's only been a teen for 2 years. And another burden that shouldn't be on this young man is being a murderer at 14. So listen, the charges have been dropped. But what about this man, Jeremy Brown's family? Are they going to want to come and harm you or your son? Now, say, Carlishia, it was just you. And Carlishia at the time shot him. I think more people would respect it more because, you know, she is the one that did it. She's grown. They could understand he was hitting her. She defended. I think everybody's losing respect for the fact that she sent her 14-year-old son out there to fight that battle, which she should not have. Under no circumstances should a mother expect their 14-year-old son to kill someone in their honor. You do the protecting. Your children are not there to protect you in that moment. So I definitely agree with the delinquency of a minor charge. I think everything about this situation is horrible and sad. There are no winners in this case. Everybody's lives have been changed forever because there's so many wrongs. The victim in this case, who sadly lost his life because he couldn't control his emotion over whatever this woman was saying, and couldn't control his emotion enough that you're sitting there pummeling a woman. You know, men who, y'all need to sit back and think about when y'all say women need to watch their mouths. No, you need to watch your emotion. There should be nothing that a person, let alone a woman, say to you, you know, to get you that hype to where you're pummeling her and punching her, especially at a restaurant where you're just going to get food. Get your food and go. Get your food and go. Carlishia in this moment also made very bad decisions. The only innocent one, and I'm going to say it, is this 14-year-old kid. He is a child. He is a boy. And he's going to need lots of support, therapy, prayers, and safety after this, because his life is forever changed. He is a 14-year-old murderer in his community. There are a lot of people that have opposing opinions that are very mad and angry. His life will never be the same, and it is directly because of his mother. So what I want to ask you guys, do you feel like the charges should have been dropped in this case? What do you feel like if the charges should have been dropped? What should they have been charged with? They were charged with first-degree murder. Do you feel like it should at least be a manslaughter charge? What do you feel like should happen to the mother? Do you feel like she should be charged with delinquency of a minor? Or do you find that everything that they did was justified? What about the minor? What do you feel about him and his future and what should happen? Listen, people, at the end of the day, I think the only thing that we can learn from this is to control your emotions. If there's a situation where someone is getting hyped up and is getting violent, you try to remove yourself as best you can. If you can't remove yourself, again, you do have the right to defend yourself. But we as a people as a whole have to get better at controlling our emotions. Male, female, doesn't matter the race. We have to do better. The violence amongst us it's sad, and it results in stuff like this when, again, people are just trying to go get food and feed their families. Thank you for watching. Let's drop down in the comments and have a dialogue about this. I'm interested in hear what everybody has to say, whether you agree with me, whether you don't. I want to hear what you have to say. Let's go back and forth. Change my mind if you can about the things that I said. I'm interested in all perspectives. Again, I thank you so much for watching. Make sure you send good vibrations to the minor in this case, and sadly to this man's family, as they have lost him and they no longer have their brother, their cousin, or their spouse. Again, thank you so much for watching. Make sure you like, comment, and subscribe. I have more videos on my channel. Make sure you check those out, and I'll see y'all in the next video.